Welcome to Envato Tuts Plus Premium. This course is titled Creating Vector Art, and this lesson is Detailing Part 3. Now, in the previous two detailing videos, we showed you how to breathe life into the mouth and add the kind of detailing that really brings that area to life. Then we focused on the fire coming out of the top of the character's head and how to use Photoshop effects to really kind of infuse some nice detailing into that to take it from being flat to more of a modeled feel in vector form. Now we're going to focus on the lifeblood of any illustration that's character based, and that's the eyes. Within 3D movies, there's a term called the uncanny valley, and that's a description used to reference how well they pull off the eyes, because the eyes are truly the lifeblood of an illustration like this. And if you don't do it well, it'll come off kind of lifeless. So we're going to focus on the eyes, and believe it or not, it's pretty simple to pull off, and I think you're going to enjoy it in this video. We've gone ahead and built out a lot of the detailing in this illustration, and I'm going to deconstruct that for you in just a little bit. But first off, we need to finish up some of the what I considered the key detail, and especially in an illustration like this, which is a face of a personality, and that is the most important area, which I usually do right off the bat first, but because I'm doing a video, I decided to do it pretty much the last, and that is the detailing on the eyes, because this is the spark of life that will really make this just explode with a lot of emotion and add to the overall quality of the illustration. So we're going to zoom in on and start with this eye. Now, like I did with some of the detailing in the mouth, we're going to bring up another eyeball. Now, this eyeball I did for a monster illustration for a book cover I worked on. And like I said earlier, it's like, why recreate the wheel? We're going to mimic some of the effects here to utilize in this illustration. And to do so, we're going to use the eyedropper tool over here. So first off, we're going to deal with the color of the eyeball itself. We're going to pull it from that. Now this makes it look like, you know, he's sick. So we're going to obviously adjust this and adjust the weight, and even adjust how the gradient goes until it feels right. And I think that's pretty good. So just subtle shadows in there. We're also going to do some additional slight building like we did on the mouth in order to create some nice shadows on the eye, such as this, using a lot of using the plugin that we've gone over there. So that's a nice shadow shape we're going to use to create for the eye, and go into Pathfinder and intersect to get the final shadow we want, and we'll sample that. Not quite, we want to go darker. And for right now, I think that's pretty good. 35, we're going to kick it up to 50. And for right now, I think that's good enough. You get the idea of adding that extra element that puts a nice depth to it. But what's really going to bring it alive is all the specific detailing on here. You can see that in this finished eyeball here. You have the starburst that kind of replicates the pattern you see on the inside of an eye. We can create that really easy with the star tool and just pull out a shape. And in this case, it's green, but we're going to make that probably about a 70% tint of the green. And we're going to go over to this pupil, and we're going to center it based off of that. And this is where the alignment tool comes in. We'll bring up that palette right here, and we'll just align it to that, so we know it's centered on that eyeball. You can see how it looks right there. And we're going to reduce it in size just a little bit. And at this point, I'm going to save a copy over here for the other side. And we're going to select the base color of the eye. With that, intersect that. Set it for 70% again. And now all we have to do is paste it behind the other shape. So you can see it's starting to develop. It's starting to look pretty good. And the next thing we're going to do is select the inside of this eye, clone it, make it just go a little smaller. We're going to change the color so you can see what's going on here. And I'm going to cut it in half. So once again, I use the Pathfinder a lot to do routine tasks like that. And now I'm going to sample this color here. There. And that makes up, think of it like a secondary lighting source that is bouncing off and reflecting off the inside pupil of the eye. That's kind of what you're after for that's the effect you're going for there. And if we clone that shape, we can make the white reflection hot spot there. So you can see this eye is starting to really come alive now, really looking good. Now, this is something that we have a smaller one here. And well, I guess we can try it. I wasn't going to do that, but maybe it would look okay. So we'll make that and we'll move it down here. I think it'd look better if that one wasn't quite as hot. So like that. Nope, you know what? We're going to make it 100%. Yep, I guess it does look pretty good, so we'll leave it. Select the background shape, clone that, and we're going to pick this. So if I select this shape and you go to the setting, you can see it's multiplied. It's an inner glow effect, colored the darker shaded green from our palette here. And we're going to select this. We're going to copy those attributes. And you can see what it does. It adds this subtle, well, it's not adding anything there for some reason. Okay, let me figure out what's going on here. You know what? We're just going to walk through it as if we're creating it for the first time and not using the eyedroppers. Sometimes the eyedroppers hit or miss. These are one of those things you run into when you work digitally. And so we'll just do it from scratch, inner glow. That'll bring up, we have our darker green color selected, the size, the opacity. We can click preview and you can see what it's, well, you can't see it because once again, there's another bug we run into with Illustrator. It'll show you once, but as soon as you turn it off, it won't disappear and come back on. So preview is pretty much useless there. Thank you, Adobe. Let's just go ahead and commit to it. And I'll just drag it away. And you can see how it affects the art. It just adds a nice another element of detail to the eye that I think looks pretty good. So I think we're going to leave that. Now this part of the eye, which is a little highlight, I'm going to try to kind of cheat here and just use what I have here, even though it was designed for the other eye, and see if I can get it to look halfway decent without having to recreate the wheel. I might be able to get away with that. We'll see. That doesn't look too bad. We're going to zoom in on it just so we can control it a little better. So deselect, and I think that looks pretty good. I think we're gonna live with that. So you can compare the right to the left, and you can see the dramatic difference, just the nice emotion it adds to it. I think on this shadow, though, I think we want to go actually darker, and to really pop that off, I think we'll go to 40 though. And yeah, I think that works better. It really sets off that top eyelid and gives it some depth, and it really comes to life when you get this final detail worked in. We're going to go ahead and add those same attributes to the left eye, but at this point I'm not going to bother to just repeat what I just did. You saw what I just did. Now you may be looking at this and thinking, let me just add that down to the layer where the eye is supposed to go. You might be thinking, well, you know, your wings are kind of getting lost in the background. And so that's where I've gone ahead and I've created some background elements that will be on the final that really kind of pop off those wings. And that's why I kind of left those later on in the process to determine what color they were. I just colored them white when I was doing the base coloring, and that's because I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep them a traditional type of white wing color or make them golden or something else. But in this case, I think the contrast with all the other colors and the background, I think white works the best. It tends to be more secondary and pushes them back, and that's okay. I want them to be there but not overpower the other elements in this illustration. So I think this is looking pretty good at this point. Now the next thing I'm going to go over that I'll walk you through in the next video will be about how to use gradients in order to really pop out the detail and add the final elements needed for the final piece of artwork. So that'll be in the next video.